Montana Senator Steve Daines spoke with Fox News this week, stating failure is not an option. We must pass the big, beautiful bill.
Look, failure is not an option. We must pass this bill. We face a $4.5 trillion tax increase if we don't. But as Leader Thune just pointed out, this is about growth. It's also about competitiveness and innovation. There's provisions in this bill that we're fighting for right now to have permanence in capital expensing as well as R&D expensing. You've got to incentivize investment, make capital expensing permanent. You want to incentivize research and development, make R&D expensing permanent. That's key as we think about global competitiveness and beating China long term, to be investing in R&D. So these are provisions we're going to the White House this afternoon and talk with President Trump about. We need permanence so the business community has certainty in their investments as we're playing not just the short game, but also the long haul here in terms of winning globally.
So, of course, Senator Chuck Schumer does not agree.
And we all know one thing. Donald Trump is just lying about the bill. Lying about the bill. Well, here's the "we are all going to die" act.
I would just love to know what supporting facts and evidence he has to make that slanderous assertion against the president. Joining me now to discuss is Montana State Senator Steve Daines. Welcome to the show, sir.
Glad to join you.
So, beautiful state of Montana, and you've been there in the federal bureaucracy, swinging your sword, telling the truth, pushing back on people like Chuck Schumer. What do you make of his comments there, sir?
Well, you have to chuckle a bit when you ask yourself who's not telling the truth. I think it's pretty obvious it's Chuck Schumer. And, what's in front of us is an opportunity to protect our country, to protect American families from what would be the largest tax increase in the history of America if we don't act. And keep in mind, every single Democrat will vote against this bill, every one of them. This is going to be a purely partisan exercise, with Republicans supporting stopping the biggest tax increase in American history, and every Democrat supporting the biggest tax increase in American history. That's the truth. And I can tell you, Chuck Schumer is not telling the truth.
And I thank you for that clarification, because we need to clip that and maybe force feed it into televisions that used to air CNN in airports, because that's one of the only ways they're going to get it. Here on Salem News Channel, your other hits on major organizations that tell the truth. But on MSNBC, they're just going to play that clip of Chuck Schumer, and that's it. You actually serve on the Senate committees on finance, foreign relations, energy, natural resources, Indian affairs. So you actually do have experience enough here to tell us whether or not what he's saying is true. What other lies can we disperse here on the program today, sir, about the big, beautiful bill?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. Number one, this not only will stop the biggest tax increase in American history by passing it, these are also some of the biggest spending decreases that we've had in any single bill in history. And there's just a lot of misinformation out there at the moment. And yeah, I would love to see more spending cuts if it's possible. But we also have to figure out a way to get 218 votes in the House and 50 plus 1 votes in the Senate. And so that's always just balancing the narrow majorities we have right now. But this is a really good bill. I met with President Trump yesterday in the White House. We had about an hour and a half long meeting with some key Republican leaders talking about this. And keep in mind, the president is fully behind this bill, 150%, because he knows this is key to ensuring that this economy keeps moving forward and it's growing. It's very important the economy is growing at a healthy clip. That's how you increase wages. That's how you actually increase tax revenues, not through higher rates, but through economic growth. When you have a growing economy, more taxable transactions, you actually increase tax revenues, not decrease them. But there's also important provisions in this bill that incentivize the investment in research and development for businesses. That's key to beating China over the long haul. I worked in China for 6 years for an American company. We were there launching businesses to compete against the Chinese. I had 2 kids born in Hong Kong. I've seen what it's like to compete against the Chinese. You've got to have provisions in the tax code incentivizing innovation to win the long-term race against China.
Oh my goodness. And so your experience there is very, very helpful for us as Americans. Now that you're in the US Senate, you can speak to those issues directly. And speaking of your experience, I want to talk a little bit about, and it's been a topic on the program today, and we'll continue to delve into it, about securing our borders and fighting anti Semitism. This big, beautiful bill actually has provisions in it that would prevent another president from coming in and doing what President Biden did during his last term. Can you talk to us about that a little bit, sir?
Yeah, well, gosh, where do you start? We saw there's never been a more stark contrast in a result, perhaps, than looking at the border numbers under President Biden versus the border numbers in terms of illegal crossings under President Trump. Record levels never seen before under President Biden from over 150 countries, including known terrorists. The Joint Terrorism Task Force of the FBI arrested 6 Tajikistan nationals who were planning a terror attack on our soil. They preempted that attack. They came across the southern border. So you saw these record high levels of illegal crossings. And then as soon as President Trump took office in January, he has now taken the border crossing to an all-time record low. So what we're going to do in the Congress is give the president additional resources for ICE, as the president now is arresting and deporting these illegals who are in our country. Look no further than what happened, that horrible event in Boulder, Colorado, where you had that terrorist, Egyptian terrorist, who tried to burn alive 12 innocent Jews in Boulder, Colorado, who were quietly protesting. So the anti-Semitism, it came directly from an illegal who were in our country here. And thank God for President Trump. He's mobilized ICE to arrest. This guy's going to go to prison, but then his family will also be deported because if you overstay your visa, overstay your welcome, look, you're not here legally. You got to get out.
Yeah, it's actually that way in all countries, isn't it?
Well,
if you go to, right?
It's called the rule of law. Last time I checked.
Yeah, we have it here. The Democrats tried to obliterate it, and now it's back. We're bringing that back, making the rule of law very important again. I also wanted to talk to you just a little bit. I wanted to touch on your work on energy. This is very important. It dovetails in with the entire agenda. There are some provisions in the Big Beautiful Bill that have to do with energy, protecting coal infrastructure, advancing more nuclear. Talk to us a little about that, sir.
Yeah, well, look, I come from Montana. When you think about Montana, you think about Glacier National Park, Yellowstone National Park, our amazing fly fishing and hiking and hunting, which we do all of that. But we also have the most recoverable coal in the United States. The good Lord put the coal in an easy place to extract it, and coal is a very important part of our future energy equation in America. We need more base power because if you're going to continue to develop artificial intelligence, these data centers, they're very power intensive. You've got to have more baseload power, not intermittent sources of energy, but baseload power. This is coal, oil, natural gas, hydro. These are some of the provisions in this bill that will continue to unleash that for America, because the constraint for our innovation is going to be energy. We need more energy in America, not less. Thank God for President Trump's leadership on this issue.
Perfect. I'm so glad. It's always nice to talk to you on radio and now here on television. Senator Daines, thank you, sir, for your time and your work on these important committees. At Steve Daines on X. See you again soon, sir.
Thanks for having me on the show.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.